Hey, what's going on? What's going on? I'm out here waiting for my food. So let me make a video real quick. Yo, tonight, man, Sean Porter's taking on Formella. And a lot of people just like looking at like, oh, just an easy little fight for, Sean Porter. Obviously he's had a crazy schedule. And he fought Ugas after fighting Ugas. He fought Danny, then he fought Ugas, then he fought Danny, then he fought Ugas, then he fought Earl Spence. So he's had a real, little tough little road for himself. And now he has this Formella fight. But what people are not really looking at this fight, one thing they're not looking at when it comes to this fight is the fact that it's not only it's actually a title eliminator. I don't know how the hell this fight's a title eliminator. I think it's kind of bullish, but it is. It's a title eliminator for not only the WBC, but it's also a title eliminator for the IBF, which I don't understand how it's a title eliminator for IBF because he's not the #1 contender. Yet somehow neither one of them is on the IBF, yet somehow it's a title eliminator for both of them. So whoever wins this fight is going to be both the WBC and the IBF mandatory for Earl Spence. And them being that pretty much is I believe is kind of showing what's possibly gonna happen in the first half of next year. I'm not sure if Manny Pacquiao is actually going to fight Earl Spence in the beginning of next year. Manny Pacquiao might not even fight, honestly, until the first half of next year. That's also a possibility. He might not be coming out of the Philippines and he might just be sitting out until the first half of next year. Then he might end up fighting Mikey Garcia the first half of next year. And you're kind of waiting out to see if there's a crowd and all this other stuff. And he only has a couple of fights, I believe, left in his career. You know what I mean? So he wants him to be big fights, obviously. He wants to make his bread, obviously. But I'm not necessarily sure, so I'm not necessarily sure if it's a thing or where he's not going to fight until the first half of next year, or if he's going to fight, before the end of the year, and he's just not going to fight Earl Spence. I'm starting to look at that as maybe it might be a possibility. So if that is a possibility, Earl Spence is already being set up for another big match. His fight with Sean Porter was monstrous. It was huge. The things that happened in that fight were it was an electric fight. It was an incredible fight. And it's a fight that definitely people would have no issue happening again. So what I'm seeing is a possibility that Earl Spence, if he's able to get past Danny, because it's not going to be easy getting past Danny. We don't even know what condition Earl Spence is in. But if he's able to get past that particular fight, then I see he's probably going to end up fighting Sean Porter and taking care of his eliminators in the first half of next year. Then maybe after that he might end up fighting Manny Pacquiao, or it could be a situation where, like, let's say a Ugas takes on someone like Ugas might take on Keith Thurman, where then he ends up fighting Keith Thurman. Or I wouldn't be surprised. Manny Pacquiao's fighting Mikey right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Manny Pacquiao didn't just fight Ugas in the first half of next year. Because he's fighting for like the WBA something belt, like one of the minor, the lower belts or whatever, the secondary belts. So I wouldn't be surprised at all, because obviously he's being set up too, where it might be a thing where he fights like a Keith Thurman and the winner fights like a Manny Pacquiao, or the winner, maybe if Manny Pacquiao was to fight Earl Spence, then the winner of that particular fight would fight Earl Spence, like that kind of situation. But they're all kind of getting maneuvered into big fights right now. They're all kind of getting maneuvered into big fights, and that's also another thing that'll be a major issue. Terrence Crawford's over here, someone like Terrence Crawford who says this person not worth anything, that person not worth anything. I'm waiting on this guy. I'm doing this later. This guy's not worth anything. What's going to happen with that is that over time it's going to be the same kind of. It's going to end up. You're going to be able to clearly see that they're idiotic. An idiotic thought process that him and his team had. They said Manny wasn't worth $20 million. Manny went to the PBC and he made his $20 million, won 2 fights. He's probably going to make another $20 million for this fight against Mikey if he fights Mikey. You know what I'm saying? Keith Thurman, had a pay-per-view that did very well. Sean Porter wasn't supposedly nothing. He had a fight with Earl Spence that did well. Mikey supposedly wasn't nothing. He had a fight with Earl Spence that did well. Got $7 million at $7 million with the Zone, and now is about it's about probably have a fight against Manny Pacquiao, make a killing again. You know, all these guys are making a killing on that side. You know what I'm saying? And the thing with that is that that's also one of the reasons why someone like a Keith Thurman asked for $10 million. Because he understands what his worth is now. Because he made anywhere close, close to $10 million versus Manny Pacquiao. And people, I know some people will say, how he's not going to make the same when he made with Manny Pacquiao. Yes, he would make the same because the pot is more even. Manny Pacquiao's not taking the lump sum of the pot when he fights against Terence Crawford. That's more closer to a 50-50 split. It's due to the fact that, because y'all make assumptions of what you think about Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman does double the viewership Terence Crawford does, and it's at bigger gates than Terence Crawford on a consistent basis. The only time that he's had a bad gate lately, I think, was when he fought against the fight in New York, whatever the hell that dude's name is. Molina. No, it wasn't Molina. Whatever that dude's name was. That's the last time he's really had a lower gate. That was the last time. So, but the other times he's had huge gates, and even with that particular time, he still had high viewerships numbers, on Fox. That's what he basically is capable of doing. That's consistently been doing. You know what I mean? So those numbers are closer. And when it comes to pay-per-views, he obviously brings in a crowd. When Adrian Broner fought Manny Pacquiao, it was like, what, 400,000 or 500,000? When he fought against Keith Thurman, it was 700,000-800,000. So he brought in a substantial amount of additional people as well. He has a good following. You know what I mean? So it's going to be trouble it's going to be an issue for what's it called? It's going to be an issue for Terence Crawford because he's going to start looking bad and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse as these fights continue. As these guys over here continue doing big fights where they make a substantial amount of money. But so people, just pay attention to this fight because there's actually a lot of things. There's actually a lot of things that are, that are actually tied on to this particular fight. There's a lot of things that actually tied on to the Ugas fight. If Keith Thurman fights this shit, there's a lot of things that are actually going to be tied on to that particular fight. And just watch how they maneuver. You know what I mean? Just look at everything that they're doing and watch how they maneuver. All the pieces. They keep maneuvering all the different pieces. You know what I mean? Because we know, Al Heyman. Al Heyman, he plays chess. He doesn't play checkers. He plays chess. He's not a moron like Eddie Hearn, letting everybody know what he's trying to do and what he's going to do. That's not how he moves. People looking at this, they don't know what the hell is going on, and poof, he hits you in the face, checkmate, and it's over. Another game, you think you're doing your thing, blah, blah, blah. This guy's a moron. He doesn't want to do, pow! Before you even know what the hell's going on, up in your face. So we'll see what's up. You know what I mean? But just pay attention to this fight because believe it or not, it's actually a big fight with a lot of actually meaning. Even though we believe that Sean Porter's going to win this fight, there's a lot of things actually tied to this fight. But for now, like, subscribe, share. I'm out.